Good evening. Thank you for joining us here at the May 3rd edition of the Board of Selectmen Highway Commissioners Cemetery Commissioners meeting. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up on the agenda, we have the consent agenda, the acceptance of minutes of April 20th and the executive session minutes of April 20th. Mr. Ruda, the executive sessions, are you looking to approve and not release?
Not approve and not release.
Thank you.
Separate motions, Mr. Chair?
We can accept the consent as one, if you'd like, unless you'd like to pull something
No.
out for discussion.
No, as long as they, make a motion to accept the minutes, April 20, 2021, to be released. Executive session minutes of April 20, 2021, not to be released.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Stephen Sullivan, aye.
John Marcy, aye.
Jerry Signa, we don't have anyone here.
Do we have to announce ourselves or anything?
No.
Okay.
No, it's just us
Well,
three.
You know, okay.
Wow. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. That was all of us, Michelle. Next up, we're going to take the public hearing out of order unless there's any objections from anyone on the board. Hearing none, we will open the public hearing at 6:41 p.m. Public hearing, poll hearing number 302-3500 to act on a petition from National Grid and Verizon New England Incorporated to relocate one pole on Lyons Road, beginning at a point approximately 25 feet southwest of the center line of the intersection of Lyons Road and Truman Drive. Sir, you're here from National Grid?
Yes, I am.
If you'd be so kind.
Hi, Steve Susi from National Grid. National Grid plans to relocate existing pole 10 south in order to make and eventually remove the existing pole 10 because a new residential underground development, Truman Drive. The existing pole is right on the edge of that driveway, or where the driveway plans to be. So we have to relocate that pole, and that relocated pole will be the underground line feeding the new road.
Any questions from anyone?
I just have a question, Mr. Chair. I noticed on pole replacements now, it seems like they're bringing in taller poles. Is that the new MO? They seem to be anywhere from maybe 8 to 10 feet taller than the existing pole.
Well, yeah, a lot of poles that we have now were, say, in the field of 35, then we go 40, now we're going 45. And the reason for that is safety reasons and regulations that we have to abide by. Some of the original poles you'll still find, that I found in the years that maybe from 1920s, they're only 25 feet tall. Now, because of safety, they say, oh, we need so much more space between, say, a transformer and the secondary and the communication lines. And so those gaps are getting larger and larger. And that's what we have to meet. And so our poles get taller now, 40 and 45s.
And you said Truman Drive is underground utilities, right?
Yes, it's going to be an underground development.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Do you have anything, Highway Superintendent Jeff? No?
No, I think I'm all set.
Okay. You all set?
Yeah, I have nothing.
Okay.
I'm sure we sent all the papers out to the butters and everything. Okay?
That happened? Good. There's nothing further. The chair will entertain a motion.
Gonna close the public hearing.
Oh, I have to close the public hearing. I apologize. We'll close the public hearing at 6:43 p.m.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Marcy.
I move that we accept the petition from National Grid and Verizon New England to relocate one JO pole on Lyons Road beginning at a point approximately 25 feet southwest of the center line of the intersection of Lyons Road and Truman Drive.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Have a nice day.
You as well.
Does he want to look at these now?
And we'll go back up to where we were with the town administrator's report.
Mr. Chairman, I wouldn't be opposed if you wanted to do licenses and permits next.
Okay, we could do that. Any objections?
There's two
Done.
copies, Michelle?
Up next, licenses, permits, Nichols College, request for outdoor orchestra entertainment license.
Two copies.
2 copies. Good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
Excellent, thank you.
I have 4 permits here, so they're separately, so we can go through them one at a time if you'd like. The first one is for Wednesday, May 12th, 6 to 12. That's located on the tent that'll be at Chamois Green, so right in front of Chamois Hall at 111 Center Road. That's for senior pub night, something we've been doing indoors. We're just looking to do it outdoors because of COVID regulations. It's safer outside. From a noise perspective, it's a PA system just to play some music alongside with the food and drinks that they're serving. The next one is Monday, May 17th, 8 to 5. That's our Employee Appreciation Day. We've done this in the past. That'll also be at the Chamois tent. It's awards recognition, so we'll just have an amplified PA for speakers and awards. And then Friday, June 4th and Saturday, June 5th is a reunion weekend. We're looking to bring about 40 alumni back to the campus right now as it stands. And what we're looking for here is just to play some music with some outdoor fire pits and a few other, yard games. And then the final one is President Engelmeyer's retirement brunch, which is Sunday, June 6th, 10 to 3, also under the tent. Again, that's just a microphone so that we can present her with a few awards and say congratulations.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Sullivan.
I know we indicated PA speakers. Is the music going to go right up till midnight on the first one, or is it going to stop at 10:30, 11?
We can control that. We usually just apply for midnight because planning the event. But if you think that there's a butter concern, the nice thing about that particular location is it's surrounded by college buildings, so it does buffer the sound significantly from the abutters. But we just applied for, the 6-hour window, so.
Don't we have, isn't there something in our reg about the noise? Didn't we have to go out and measure some noise a couple times for, not for those folks, but
Based on complaints, the Board of Health would go out and measure if it became a nuisance with the decibels. But the way I read this, Mr. Sullivan, through the chair, I think this is more like a background music situation as opposed to a band or it's just to kind of provide some background, some ambient style music.
Yeah, that's correct.
I think I'd be a little more comfortable if the music was off before midnight. That's all.
What time are you thinking, 10, 11?
I would say 11 would probably be fair, because I know the establishments in town, when they have their doors open for nicer weather, their sound not supposed to permeate out.
Oh, we're not opposed to that either, so.
Okay.
Any other concerns?
No?
Anyone?
So what would be acceptable? 11 p.m.?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I suppose if it was an issue, someone's going to complain. Even if at 11 they lower it a little bit, because by then the crowd might be thinning out anyway.
Would we want to make that the standard going forward? We apply for 11 p.m.?
I'd be good with that.
Yeah.
We can,
We can always try it. I mean, if it seems like 12 works and it's not a full-blown band, but just,
If it's
Gonna be nice.
background music, I'm good with this, but,
so, yeah, I mean, if it's
yeah.
not so intrusive, we can maybe bump it back to mid. I just think 11 would be good for nice weather, windows open. I know there's not a lot of abutters, as he indicated. We all know the location.
Mm.
This is next Wednesday, though, too, right? So-
Yeah. The weather, weather's gonna be a little nicer probably.
Yeah.
we're not opposed, like I said, 11 is fine with us too. We just,
Maybe
Not knowing the exact
during
end
the week,
time.
that's the appropriate 11 o'clock.
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Morrison.
I move that we approve Nichols College's request for an outdoor orchestra entertainment license on Wednesday, May 12th, 2021, from 6 p.m. to 11 o'clock p.m. located in a tent on Shamey Green for senior pub night.
Are we doing them all? You want to do them individually?
Oh, I figured since we made that change, I'd do that one separately.
So the motion is to amend their request to 11 instead of 12?
Yeah, 11, yeah.
11 PM.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry.
Unanimous. And next we have the Employee Appreciation Day, the reunion weekend, and
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the next three as written.
Second.
motion and a second. So that's Monday, May 17th from 8 AM to 5 PM, Friday, June 4th from 3 PM to 10 PM, Saturday, June 5th from 10 AM to 5 PM, and June 6th from 10 AM to 3 PM. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much.
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks for your amendment. I
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Good to see you.
All right, next up, we have the town administrator's report, unless he'd like to move it past something else.
Move it past adjournment. Mr. Chairman, my town administrator's report format tonight will be to go over in advance of our joint meeting with the FAA, my final draft options for the FY22 budget, and to go through the draft warrant to see if there's anything the board wants or requires me to do in advance of tomorrow's meeting.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Chair, I don't know how we're going to get into it tonight. I think we need to stand firm on what we're offering. I don't think the 4.8% request is reasonable, nor is it something the town should even entertain.
I'm going to pass out, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Sullivan, two versions. One's at 2.5, one's at 3.
Same as last week, right?
Well, no, because we had to make some adjustments from the joint meeting last week with the fire and town clerk and...
No, but we did 2.5 and 3, right?
Right, well, these are the final, so everybody's getting two.
Oh,
If you want to just pass them down.
Yes, I don't want to jump the gun, but I just think that 4.8 request is not reasonable.
I'll have to agree with you, Mr. Sullivan. Both the short-term and the long-term outlook are quite foggy at this point.
So at 2.5, Mr. Chairman, which is version 1, we'll still have to make some minor adjustments like we generally do in October, but we'll be going into FY22 with a solid police budget, with a solid fire budget, with a solid library budget, and with a solid highway budget. The water sewer budget remains as submitted. The only drawdowns and the unknowns are going to be likely, for the most part, under my budget, which we can adjust as we go along. That's reflected in the 2.5 version. The 3% version offers the regional school district 3% instead of 2.5, and it will require some adjustment in October, but it still leaves public safety intact at 3%. The 4.8, which I didn't print out, will be the same as the 3% version of the final draft budget, but it will also require a $163,000 infusion from stabilization or cuts to other departments in order to make up that $163,000. So that's where we're at with the three different versions. They're coming in tomorrow night. They give us their pitch. Bay Path has not finalized their request at this point, so we went in with the worst-case scenario. But Bay Path is a very different budget scheme than the regional school district. It's pretty much, it's a bill. It's based on how many students are going, and there's not a lot of room for error in terms of calculating it.
And through the chair,
Yes.
Jonathan, is there any way that the Bay Path number comes in lower
It's
than
not
the
gonna,
worst case?
it's only gonna come in lower, it won't come in higher.
Okay,
I
so-
put in the worst-case scenario.
Okay, so there could be some puts and takes to put it into the regional school system?
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
So I'm sorry, there's one more document to hand out. The treasurer and I joined our counterparts in Charlton and met with, on a Zoom meeting, with Mr. Lamarche and Mr. Matthew this morning. And this is their breakdown at 4.8%.
All that's on here is 4.8%?
This is what they're
4.4.
requesting. They've modified their request down to 4.8%. And that's what was, I believe, Rich, that was passed by the school committee. Thought so.
I think so.
Mr. Chair,
The hang-up, I'm sorry, I promise this is my final comment. The hang-up is, they drew down to 1% and drew from reserves last year to help us get to where we needed to be. They'd like that $175,000 difference restored to their budget.
Go ahead.
Wasn't that pretty much the crux of the...
I'll interrupt you again.
that's all right.
Thank you.
So do they publicly take into consideration the 300,000 plus that the town was able to help them procure through the CARES Act?
So we did have a good discussion about that.
That doesn't reflect anywhere, where they say, thank you, we want the 170 back from last year, but we also took the 320 you got us.
So there's two trains of thought. On the town sides, we'd be, again, we have this looming this next federal package coming through that will offer a substantial amount of money to both towns. However, it's not here yet. We don't know what it's gonna qualify for. We don't know, it's an unknown. It's just, we're going to get it maybe. As it stands, we've received no guidance whatsoever on it. So, we stand ready, if we have room on it, certainly to help out the schools, just like we did with the CARE Act. We have no problem doing that. However, I wouldn't want to predicate a budget on it.
No, I'm just talking about the past amount.
Right.
They keep talking about the 1%, this and that, and they want their money back. Well, how about
Well, that was
the
part of
monies you guys already helped them get?
That was part of the conversation, the CARE Act, we did commit $300 and something thousand to help. Happy to do it, and would be happy to do it again. We just, we certainly couldn't build it into an
No.
unknown into the budget.
I guess what I'm saying, I'm just looking for some kind of like public acknowledgement. I mean, they're making it seem like they made a heroic effort to get down to 4.8, knowing that it's gonna potentially break the back of the town, and through good hard work of our people, they can say all they want about the 1%. They got a heck of a lot more when you add in the CARES Act. That's all. Some kind of public, I know they've had discussion with it, but do they even acknowledge it? Like, is it just something like, thanks for the pile, but we want a bigger one this time?
I mean, I think a lot of this is just minutia. There's a certain amount that we can afford to give them, and there it is. Mr. Marcy?
Mr. Chairman, with the town administrator, at the 4.8 scenario, you said it would cost how much out of stabilization?
About 163.
And I'm seeing our balance is 270,000?
Yeah, take more than
Well,
that.
you've got stabilization or capital improvement stabilization.
No, stabilization.
Yeah, there's about
270,000.
$500,000 combined in stabilization.
But it would have to come out of the regular, not capital, right?
I would say that would be the more appropriate,
So, I mean, that would kind
unless
of
they
like,
represented they're gonna apply it towards their capital expenses, but that was the other conversation we had, is that there are different funds that they break down that, transportation, they drew down on transportation, they subsidized it last year with their reserve, but what's important to us remains, and this has been my guidance, is our bottom line. Whether it's a 3% increase over last year for the total assessment, or if it's a 1% or a 4.8%, our bottom line is what's important. They're the ones who manage their budgets and place that money where it
Right,
needs to go.
right. My point being is that our stabilization would be greatly reduced if we were at the 4.8%.
And there's no option, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't like going in with a less than solid public safety.
Yeah, no,
Budget.
I was just calling out what that would do to it, if we went with that
So,
option.
Mr. Chair, also, so the budget as presented to the administrator shows us not filling the highway conservation planning clerk position either.
No.
So that's another hit we're taking on the town side.
Well, I didn't watch the Mr. Chairman, I didn't watch the school committee meeting last week, but I'm sure that they were going through their list of what they are still having in the budget. I knew they were looking to hire some new people. Did that come up today? Or did they discuss enrollment?
No, we didn't go down that road, Mr. Myers.
Okay, I'm just kind of curious, again, all part of the sausage that makes the budget.
That's kind of why I wanted, Mr. Chairman, stay with the budget line, the bottom line concept, because I don't want to get into a situation where
No.
the district is picking apart how we allocate and appropriate the money, and I don't want to get us into the situation where we're scrutinizing it. What we can, the bottom line to me is the key.
Exactly, and I'm wondering if we should even have this.
Fair enough.
Because we have what we have. I mean, I feel like they're just gonna come in here and like beat us up to get
Well, I think it's,
blood from a stone.
then I think it's important for the public and the board to hear the same thing that
Yeah.
the treasurer and I heard,
I
If you
agree.
think so,
Hey, Mr.
and
Chair,
the
too,
FAA.
Mr.
I
Sullivan.
know I've spoken to the administrator, and I know they're both in contact with their counterparts in Charlton, and it looks like the Charlton side's standing firm. Unless something's changed in the last week, right?
We're very much on the same page.
So are they even providing a 3% too, or just 2.5%?
Well, it's not quite the same amount as Dudley, because we're still looking at the proportionate formulas on either
Right.
side. But we're adjusting accordingly, so it's reflective of the same amount that Dudley is offering
Percentage?
in both cases.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Good question.
It's appropriately reflective.
Good question.
Anything else?
Not tonight.
I guess we save the rest for tomorrow.
Thank you, town administrator.
Can we hold on to these and we'll,
Yeah.
actually, we'll give these to the FAA. Mr. Chairman, the next thing is, I thought that we would have a discussion before tomorrow night about our final draft warrant, and maybe we'll do it the way we normally do, and just call out the article and do individual holds on it, and then go back and discuss it. That way, if there's any more information that needs to be provided for tomorrow night, I can do that.
Certainly. Board ready?
Yep.
So I will just say the article number, and if you'd like me to put a hold on it, please say something. Article 1, Article 2, those are perfunctory. Article 3, Article 4, Article 5, Article 6, Article 7. Hold on Article
I
7.
just had a quick question on that one. If we could-
Okay, we'll come back.
Yep.
Article 8. Article 9. Article 10. Article 11. Article 12. Article 13.
I just have a question on it, Mr. Chairman.
We'll put a hold on Article 13. Article 14. Article 15.
Hold.
Hold, I turned too soon. Article 16.
Hold.
Article 17.
Hold.
beat me to it, Mr. Sullivan.
Me too.
Article 18. Article 19. Article 20. Article 21. Article 22. Article 23.
I'm gonna put a hold on that one.
Thank you, Mr. Ruda. Article 24. Article 25. Article 26.
Put a hold on that one, too.
Thank you, Mr. Ruda. And look at that, it's only 26. Okay, so the first one is Article 7, Special Legislation Petition, Increase in All Alcohol Package Store Licenses. Mr. Marcy, what's
Yeah.
the hold?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. What number are we gonna put in here? I think, how many do we have total, Michelle, available? 10 or something? And how many are we?
Package store licenses, 3.
3, okay.
All alcohol package store.
Okay, and how many are we going to?
Well, that's a good question.
My suggestion was to do, there was a specific request for one additional. Was that correct? So if we had to go through the special legislation process, which we do, I thought the board may consider adding a second or a third one in order to not, for any,
Have to
if
go
for no
through the
other
second.
reason that if there's an interesting economic development opportunity that comes into town, rather than to have to go through special legislation in a 6-month process, it would be at the fingertips of the Board of Selectmen after the town meeting approves it to evaluate it.
So for argument's sake now, if we, let's say we approve 6 total, 3 more. Are we obligated, if someone comes before us to request one, are we obligated to give it to them? Or we can say, no, we're waiting for something new as far as development goes? I guess what my point is, I don't want to get to the point where we've got 27 liquor licenses in town.
I don't think we're obligated to issue any license that doesn't,
I just,
but I think somebody comes in with, first of all, it would be a new one.
mhm.
They would have to meet the criteria, and we'd have the whole hearing process and move forward from there to evaluate the project one at a time. It's certainly an alcohol license, especially in all alcohol, is certainly not a rubber stamp by any stretch.
I just wanted to make sure that was said and out in the open. Thank you, Mr. Ruda.
No, I think that's a solid plan, Mr. Chair. I mean, on the off chance that something were to come up, and we have 4 applicants, we only have 3 licenses, this way here we'll have a couple in the bank.
So is the number 2 or 3 preferable to the board, and we'll,
I like 3. How do you?
3 and 3.
It's fair, it's not too many, it's not, we can still have them in case it's part of another package or development that comes along, if there was.
Like if Wegmans was going to come to town, it would be nice to have a license for that.
or specialty
Specialty.
retail space in a future large development project.
Exactly.
We don't know. Do 3? All right.
Okay, that's why I asked, it was.
Do we need to vote on that, or are you good with just us?
I know, because I'm going to just add it in, and we'll have our final vote
Okay.
for the whole thing later.
Okay, thank you,
Are you,
guys.
are you good with that, Mr. Marcy?
Yeah, I am.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for doing that.
Next up, Chief, Article 13.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a clarification on this article, because they had asked about taking out the language about tying it specifically into a debt exclusion vote. And so wanted to see if, just if the article could be amended where it, after it goes, see if the town will borrow $58,000 or other such sum for the purchase of a police cruiser with associated equipment, as recommended by the Capital Improvement Committee, period. I think that was just the only language thing, just so that it's not tied in, pigeonholed to that thing, that it could be done in another way, or paid off in another way, or covered in some other way, as opposed to being tied in specifically to a debt exclusion.
Did the FAA already vote on this?
I know I brought it up at the FAA meeting, so I know when they voted theirs, that was,
No.
They didn't
didn't
vote
put
the final plan.
Tomorrow, I think
Right.
that was gonna come
That might be the
out,
final, okay,
but-
whatever the
but
final.
I'm perfectly okay with that, chief, because,
I just want to make sure everyone that,
yeah.
Yeah, I did bring it up at the
Yeah.
FAA meeting last week,
You
that
did.
was
Okay.
discussed. So I just wanted to make sure I just noted that for the, before the final warrant article was approved, because I don't think I'll be able to make it tomorrow night, so I just wanted to make sure that that got noted.
Yeah, let's make sure we.
The only question I'd have, Mr. Chair,
yes, Mr.
does
Sullivan.
that mean, if it passes as amended, does that mean we're obligated to that amount? If we can't debt exclude it, how are we gonna find?
So, through the chair, there were a few things in our favor. One is, we looked at lease versus
Right.
borrow and pay off. It's about a 6% interest rate for a lease. It's about 0.55, the current rate, to borrow for a $50,000 cruiser, $58,000 cruiser. So, by the time that borrowing comes to fruition, we get the answer, the short answer is yes, we're on the hook for it, but the Capital Improvement Committee and the FAA said that they thought that they would revisit this and maybe talk to the Capital Improvement Committee again this fall and make this one of those deals where we do 3 or 5 cruises at a time, so it doesn't have to happen every single year, and then make it a debt exclusion vote based on that amount.
Make it part of an
It's a-
overall plan versus a one-off.
Right. Yeah, I think that was a concern about if you did a debt exclusion for one vehicle, you're back at it again for next year. Whereas when we did that a few years ago, and we voted a block of, one vehicle per year for 4 years or 3 years, however we did it, that worked out very smooth. The money was already allocated for it, and it was just purchased on a rotating basis. So,
This is replacing an existing vehicle,
yes,
correct?
yes.
Yeah.
Did we vote something about when something's being replaced, what happens to that vehicle?
We've been pretty solid about, it's a replacement vehicle, we're not adding to the fleet, so
It's
you know, we-
traded in or
we
it's sold
trade
at
in,
auction?
we-
It's traded?
It's either traded, or some of them, if they've been in decent shape, we've repurposed them down to, be like an unmarked vehicle or something, but most of them that we've had, the ones that we've been trading in were pretty tired. So, and then we've also, too, had left the option open of reallocating it somewhere to use in the town, if that's something that would be first option.
Right, we look at the fleet as an overall thing as opposed to a department, so if we got rid of an old pickup truck from a department, we would be reducing the fleet and replacing it or transferring it, a usable asset with something else.
I just remember there was something that we
Yeah.
did recently. I just want to make sure we followed what we said we were going to do.
We also dedicated anything that gets surplus to scrapped right into capital improvement stabilization, so.
Maybe that's what it was.
I think that's,
Yeah, and we did not purchase a vehicle last year, with the budget and everything else like that, all through the COVID stuff, we didn't allocate for one then, and didn't do one in the fall, so it's, we're kind of fell a year behind now with everything. So even by the time, if we get this one ordered, we're probably not gonna take delivery of it, hopefully by Christmas time, depending on how it all goes, so
Oh, wow.
it's a little bit of time out.
Good thing it's not made out of wood, though. Might
True.
go quicker.
so, Mr. Chairman, to Jonathan,
Yes.
so do you want to take that language out tomorrow when we review it, or discuss it tomorrow?
We'll remove it for tomorrow. I mean, I think everybody was universally in agreement.
Yeah, I remember that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, before you move on to the next, I didn't notice Article 12, there's some language in there that needs to be removed. So, it says,
Jeff, come up, because the mic won't pick you up on the TV.
So apparently there's some language that was spilled over from one of the other articles. So purchase of chemical road treatment system with associated equipment as recommended by the Capital Improvement Planning Committee should be removed from that article, which is, it lands right smack in the middle of the article.
Yep.
So we're just removing as recommended by the capital?
No, so,
It says it twice.
print it twice.
well, it's actually, this article is related to the purchase of a new vehicle for the foreman, for the highway foreman,
Not the
and
chemical.
truck for the buildings and
Oh.
grounds cemetery parks truck,
I-
and associated warning communications equipment. And then after that, it reads purchase chemical road treatment system
yeah.
with associated equipment as recommended by the Capital Improvement Planning Committee, which should be struck from the article.
So, Mr. Chair, while we're amending,
Yes.
should we amend his language to reflect the chief's language? Because this calls for, specifically calls for a Prop 2.5, right? Should we strike that language too, like the police chief just did?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think that we intend to debt exclude that amount of money
Okay.
and make that purchase contingent upon it.
Okay.
But
That's all.
again, the FAA
But
hasn't voted a recommendation, so, but I believe that's the intention of
we're
this.
looking at reimbursement from Chapter 90, right? That's what we discussed last time?
No, that
No,
was
that's
for the
another,
truck.
that's another set of vehicles.
That's the two big ones.
That's,
Oh, the tow boat, sorry, yeah, the chassis, I'm sorry.
yeah, Article 14.
Okay,
14.
thank you.
We're all good on that
Yep.
now? We're good?
15.
Article 15, zoning amendment, Mr. Sullivan.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, same question as last time, the time before. There's no delineation of the district. All it says is new marijuana cultivation overlay district. And I have a problem with it specifically naming one property. And the way this is wrote, to me, if somebody who was just, I know the chances are slim, but if somebody had 15 acres in a Res 87, they could grow. But right now, it's only in industrial 130. So it looks like to me, it needs to be much more specific.
Have they had a hearing for that yet,
On
Michelle?
Wednesday night.
Yeah, so it hasn't even had its hearing yet, Mr. Sullivan, so.
So I won't be able to attend that, so can someone just forward my concern? I can email the planner, I guess, but
We'll make sure that the selectmen weigh in on that. We'll send an email tomorrow.
and strongly opposed to naming one property.
Well, is that considered spot zoning, is that what you mean? Or-
Well, I would assume if they're creating a whole district, every 15-acre parcel in town qualifies, no matter what district it's in. So,
Okay.
in a worst-case scenario, like I said, if someone's got a big chunk of land, it's not industrial right now, they could start growing.
Yeah.
I think that would just cause headaches.
Agreed. On that note, on Article 16, the self-service storage facilities overlay district.
Kind of the same concerns, Mr. Chair. Right now, I don't have the zoning book in front of me, but self-storage is only allowed in light industrial, I believe, right? Jonathan?
I believe so.
So are we creating another district? I mean, maybe when they do their public hearing, they're gonna have all the dimensional requirements spelled out, but it doesn't say now. I mean, once again, are we talking like a 1 acre piece, 5 acre, 2 acres? Can I put it in Res 87?
And is there a, Mr. Chairman, to add on to that, is there an existing or a proposal to put something like that on there that could?
Well, that's the thing, I mean, it just seems, I don't know if it's vague on purpose, or if it's just vague by omission.
It seems like it's missing one element, Mr. Chairman, through the, where it would say by special permit, but it would be limited to more appropriate zones as opposed to just by special permit
Anyway,
in general.
because then
right.
you run into somebody comes in and says, I want to put it here, and you say, well, it's residential, yeah, but your bylaws allow it.
Right, and who wants a self-storage thing
With lights and everything.
right. So it's gonna be zoned appropriately, so we'll ask that same question.
Yeah, we need to know that. I mean, if somebody wants to come and do that in the right area of town, sure.
Right, but, you know, are we creating a headache by, like, maybe there is a proposal that's in the appropriate district.
But
it's
you
not
just have to
worded.
learn from the solar panels, right? That's the way I look at through that lens, right? We went through all that, similar language. Replace the words. Yep.
And along that same vein, Article 17th. A lot of meetings lately, a lot of meetings. Article 17th, landowners petition.
Same question, Mr. Chair, it's one zone, one piece of property, I mean, but then again, I thought I either read somewhere or somebody, maybe I heard, I'm not sure. the parcel is being upzoned into the 130 as opposed to LI 87, I think it is right now.
Going from industrial 43 to
To 43.
industrial 130.
So it's upzoning to a bigger district.
Mhm.
But again, same questions apply. I know it's a citizen's petition, we have to put it on, I know council reviewed it, the language. Just, once again, one parcel
Mhm.
just raises a red flag.
It's another one, Mr. Chairman, that requires a public hearing. Even though I think I think this is the second time this has come around.
Mhm.
It has expired, so it will require another public hearing. I don't know how they're gonna fit them all in, just within the next week or two. I mean, this thing gets posted, so.
It hasn't been posted yet.
Well, no, the public hearing's been posted, but the warrant has to be posted, and once it's up, it's,
I mean, I could be wrong, like I said, if upzoning, my words, is allowed, then I guess it's allowed, but it just catches my attention when we start singling out, to go back to 15, we singled out that one property, but it looks like we're creating a district to affect all. This one here,
That's for one piece.
it's just the one,
Spot
but
zoning.
it's just the one.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that upzoning is I just think this question just need to be answered.
And we'll just stop speaking and I'll look at you when
Okay.
you want.
Carrie?
Good to see you, Mr.
That's
Johnson.
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, sir. And
Welcome, Mr. Johnson.
again, with my previous piece about liquor licenses and are we obligated to give it out, if this does go through, we only have 2 marijuana retail licenses in town. Are we obligated to give them that license
Sorry.
if it goes through?
Thank you, Jack, sorry.
we're not obligated to do that. We have to come to a host community agreement and sign it before. We have the ability to handle it the way we want it, in the most appropriate way. There's
Thank
no
you.
obligation to issue licenses, there's no obligation to enter into an agreement.
Okay.
So how much latitude do we have if an applicant meets all the criteria? How much latitude do we have? So if we just say, I'm not gonna talk about this article. Somebody wants to put a package store on West Main, next to the package store on West Main. We don't want it there, but the person meets the query, meets the applicant, everything is, do we have latitude to say no because there's already one there? And they can't come back and say, well,
No,
I met your process.
it's gotta be measured, it can't just be pick and choose. If the criteria is met, then we have to show a good faith effort to move forward with it. It's not tyrannical, it's gotta be based on some, reason why you wouldn't enter into an agreement or.
Right, that's what I'm saying, if they meet all the license, all the application is met, do we have the?
Yeah.
Especially as a
There's a
citizen's
lot
petition.
there's a lot that people have to go through to get either a liquor license or a cannabis operation up and running. I mean, it's not just a lemonade stand, there's a lot.
Oh, no, I know.
It's, background checks, and it's not a low batting at all, so.
And Mr. Chair, one more, and then done. At the last meeting, the person who presented wasn't a town resident and got admonished by Mr. Joseph, so I just think if I don't know if the person lives in Dudley, they may be a non-issue, but if someone's coming in to present as a non-resident, I mean, we've been taking pro forma votes to let, like Chief, for example, lives out of town now, but he is allowed to speak as a non-resident, he's a department head. If somebody's presenting a citizen's petition, I think we have to grant them permission to speak. So someone just gotta let these guys know that they gotta be ready to present.
And they
This,
also have to
Mr. Chairman, I think this is a landowner's petition, so the land is already, he's already a landowner. He or she is already a landowner.
Gotta be a registered
But
voter,
there are some
Yeah.
people that are not residents.
Right, you gotta
And
be
at the
Right.
beginning, all the non-residents should be sitting in the
though.
first
Right,
2
you need to be a
rows.
registered voter to speak.
That was the problem from last time. We had intermingled folks.
Mhm.
So I just want, I didn't like to see what happened at the last meeting happen again, so.
Exactly. All right, next up, Article 23, authorized for temporary PFAS water treatment. someone asked to speak on that.
I did. So I'll actually bundle this with 26 as well.
Thank you.
Rich and George both fighting to get up to the...
Yeah, I can't.
Actually, you might lose your seat. Probably for a half hour, maybe 40 minutes. The microphone in front. George, speak clearly.
So Article 23, Mr. Chairman, I'm just, to say it as plainly as possible, Article 23 gets a temporary water treatment system in place to mitigate the PFAS issue. So, and we've already identified a fine source of funding for this, which is the SRF fund. That's with the 13.2% loan forgiveness and the whole nine. I don't think at this point, based on the regulatory requirements, that there's a lot of, there's anybody on the town's end of this discussion, hopefully not the commissioners at this point, that's opposed to taking care of the PFAS issue. I mean,
Nobody's opposed to that.
right, I mean, we're not, I mean, I think if we looked at the Water and Sewer Commissioners, the Board of Selectmen, the FAA, the Capital Improvement Committee, I know I'm personally in favor of taking care of the safe water issue. I think that for the town meeting, I would even suggest that we universally come out with a statement that, and sign the statement saying that we are in support of making sure that the PFAS issue is, we're in support of Article 23, and that this issue is something that is in direct relation to compliance with regulatory obligations, and first and foremost, the public health. So if this doesn't pass at town meeting, we have a real issue, is what I'm getting at. So I don't see a situation where we wouldn't universally go into the town meeting and board by board stand up and support this issue, because it's the only way it passes. We've put an informational video out about it. I think we come up with a universal statement. I will, and I'm happy to do that and have every single board who is on board sign the thing. Say why, very simply and plainly, why it's important, why we need to address it now. Matter of public health, matter of regulatory compliance, it's a matter of mitigating draconian fines to the tune of $25,000 a day if this thing were to be voted down at town meeting. I think it's that important that we come out and support it. So I throw that out there just as a suggestion.
I'll be the first person to speak in the mic. I'll sign my name on that, no questions asked.
Yep.
The town administrator and I had this discussion earlier today. You don't want to be on the no end, and then what do? You have to reapply, and you're going to get a second swing at a different pool which has more applicants, as opposed to say yes, and we get the green light and we're ready to go.
Mr. Marcy.
Sign me up as well. This gives us a way to actually, solve the problem that we were trying to solve, even if it's a temporary solution. It gets us.
No.
What?
No, the 11.5 million is the water
Can I
treatment.
finish?
He's going on to the treatment,
No,
on the permanent
I'm
treatment.
talking about Article 23.
Okay, 23, that's the temporary,
Temporary.
yeah, which is coming mostly out of what we
Right.
have.
That gets
yeah.
us to,
Go, Mr. Marcy.
that gets us to fix the problem in a temporary manner, so we can actually tell the people that, look, this is the solution before the solution, right? We have a step-by-step process to get to the final solution.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, on this, okay.
You good?
Yeah, I guess. I got interrupted again.
I know everybody's
Are
been,
you finished?
Oh, I'm finished.
Thank you.
I know everybody's been briefed on this by me and the commissioners. It is a temporary treatment. It's a little different from the blending operation, which is now being done. Blending is only gonna last so long, especially when the heat, because they only got 2 stations to play with, and right now they've been cut down in half each one to simultaneously run together to do the blending. This temporary vessel is something that has been made known to us probably last year. We've been working hard to see what it's all about, how it would incorporate into our station. My big fight was to make sure that that vessel would go into station number 3 and be plumbed into that station, because that's our workhorse station. Now with the new well online, that station can be cranked up even higher and allow the other station to calm down a little bit while we work on things. But just keep this in mind, this temporary treatment has to go through. I have no other course of action at that point. I'm already doing blending, blending's temporary. It's doing its thing. People have to understand that this temporary treatment will take us for a while, but also as we're working towards a permanent. DEP likes to see, and they understand it takes time, some things have to happen. DEP wants to see 2 things. One, they want to see that you're mitigating on a temporary basis and that you're working to a final resolution, which is the permanent treatment center, okay? That right now, we understand is a big cash cow, and we feel bad, but it's our only avenue as far as getting totally everything completed for treatment at the final facility, including station number 1, which we're working at right now with a new well, okay? But right now, to get us through this temporary treatment vessel, we're looking at the October timeframe for that to come in and plumb into the station. And at that time, maybe we could take a quick little breath and start getting our guns ready for the next battles to come. But it has to go. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Otherwise, we're going to have a serious issue, like Mr. Rude said, with fines, with water supply. They may cause us to shut well down. In that case, we're out of water. There's a number of things they can do. And right now, we've been playing good in the sandbox. We've been reaping the rewards of all these grants and these low-interest loans that we're getting. We don't want to screw this up either for the permanent. We want to go forward with town meeting and let the people know that this is just to get us moving forward with the hard work we've done to get these loans in place. Eventually, the people will vote. Like I always say, they'll vote for what they want and how they want to do it. The water department's working hard to move forward on what they have to do to secure some of this stuff, but it's the people in general that's the bottom line as far as the permanent treatment facility goes. Temporary has to go. That's
My question to you is, town meeting night, who is going to be there to answer the residents' questions? Because I know we've got the video, we've got the letters, we've got these meetings, but there's still going to be people with questions.
Commissioners will be there, I'll be there, so they'll all be referred to us for any questions. Financially, Rich will be there to help us too for things, if they have a question about that. John will be there to help us with anything on his specialty.
Because I don't think anyone is against having clean water. That's just silly. It's just the path to get there.
That's correct.
Mr. Chairman, can I move on to, while we're having the discussion, I might as well wrap in Article 26, because I think that I can
Before you
bring-
do,
I
I
can
want to
bring-
make
Mr.
sure.
Chairman, to be clear, we were talking about Article 23.
23, and that's why I want to see. I want to make sure.
Yeah.
23.
Yeah,
We're
Mr.
good?
Chair, I just want to
Mr. Sullivan.
echo the town treasurer, collector, administrator, Mr. Massey, and I'm sure everyone. We know what we have to do, we know how to get there, but the important thing is have the process followed, starting with this article, and then we'll worry, as George said, for the big concern down the road, what's going to be the permanent fixture. But I agree, I think that's an excellent idea that, as a town resident, you said it best, nobody's against clean water, and this is the only way to get it. And again, nothing the water commissioners did, nothing people did. This PFAS didn't come from behind the scenes. It wasn't what's been spun out there by certain people in town. But it's just something that has to be done because the state changed the standard. Right, George?
Yes, correct.
We came in slightly over. Some towns are
No interest loan, Rich?
way over.
Oh, yes, there's some, we're at, the standard right now is 20 parts per trillion. That's like one little drop in a 600,000 gallon pool. And we're at 21, 22 in that general vicinity. Some towns are in the 700, some towns are in 1,000.
In Massachusetts?
Yes, in Massachusetts.
Some towns
The EPA set their standard at 70, which I think is much more reasonable, but Massachusetts wants to be the hero. They dropped it to 20, and now they're finding the troubles that 20 brings, because not only is it hard for the labs to give you accurate results, the results keep jumping all over the board. For a city that has high concentration, that's one thing, it's easy, because it doesn't matter which way you swing. For a town like Dudley, you're always swinging one side, this side, which makes it really frustrating for us. But we're playing the safe route, the route that's gonna end up happening. They're gonna end up regulating more substances in this down the line. We've already got the word. It's just gonna get worse and worse as it goes.
Well, hopefully this thing does all of that.
Yeah.
Mr. Johnson?
I believe Article 23 is a reasonable short-term solution to meet the PFAS requirements, and then we can move on to the others.
Very good. The next one put on hold, if everyone's good with 23, is 26. Mr. Rudy, you asked for that to be put on
Mr.
hold.
Chairman, to bridge the gap between 23 and 26, and I think Mr. Marcy and the treasurer were both on the same page. The 11.5 is the permanent solution that completely mitigates the PFAS problem. It adds to the infrastructure. It allows us to proceed with economic development. Article 23 does not allow us to proceed with economic development. We're at a standstill. Article 26 allows us to proceed, which is, of course, the basis of the future of the town, so that's probably pretty important. But even beyond that, from a financial perspective, the SRF loan is here now, available now. We can, there is a source of funding identified with the SRF that if we don't take advantage of this now, and lock it in as if we were going to refinance at a better rate, this will be gone. There's no question about it. So who cares if it's gone, right? As long as we don't have to pay the money. Well, it's a little bit more involved than that, because in October, the floodgates open up. All cities and towns are going to be vying for the same pool of money. And if Dudley says no to it now, we go to the bottom of the list. And there's next to no chance that we get this funding anytime soon. So we'll have a temporary fix in place, but economic development halts. Here's the good news. If we borrow from SRF, this doesn't come on until 2023, Rich? So we have the chance to have a public, open, transparent discussion about how best to pay or offset the cost of this entire loan. We can do it not in a hurried way or a rushed way, but we have a year to deal with how to best offset the cost of the ratepayers.
Mm-hmm.
But we've locked it in and not spent it yet. So that's the best case scenario. We're not in a bad position in terms of addressing this issue now rather than trying to react to it in 2 years. 2 years it will be a disaster. Now we can deal with it, and we still have time to deal with it. But it's important that Article 26 pass as well.
Thank you, Mr. Ruda. And all of the things that are being said tonight, it's great, needs to be repeated May 24th at the town meeting for the people who are actually deciding this.
And tomorrow, the FAA to actually get this approved on the warrant.
Anything else on that?
Nope.
We're good? All right, that's it for the warrant. Do you need anything from us, or does the magic happen tomorrow night?
Can I draft a letter for all boards on board to sign that they agree with the passage of these two articles or one of the other articles?
As long as you only, sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, go right
As long
ahead.
as you use the language that we used tonight.
Okay.
Don't embellish too much. Don't get too creative.
Me embellish, Mr. Johnson? Come on. Come on. I'll clean it up so it sounds more ready for prime time.
Mr. Joseph, here, would say something along the lines of just the facts.
All right, next up, we have board member comments. Mr.
All
Sullivan?
we have is town administrator's review.
No. Oh, do we?
Yeah, we,
Oh. Tried to save the taxpayers some money. Go ahead.
So, reach get one of these?
That's gonna get repeated.
Something's gonna get repeated, at least we can pick one.
Okay.
That's probably the best way of doing it, that's verbatim almost.
How many copies do you have? All right. Okay, so I'll pass these down. This is the actual goals.
We need to have a paper reduction
Yeah.
by maybe iPad or something.
Yep, and then is this how we did it last time?
Tried that a few years ago.
Where is this going?
Yep. Pass it down. Yeah. Yep, I remember doing that. Thanks, Michelle.
Mr. Chairman, that's where we left off for my review.
Okay.
The progress review is indicated in my contract. I have no issue with waiving it under the circumstances and going right to the final evaluation.
Okay.
We don't have to do it tonight, obviously, but I wanted to give it to you, to the board, to take a few weeks to digest, and we'll put it on
Right, because,
in a few weeks.
yep.
Post-town meeting?
Post-town meeting.
Post-town meeting, yep, thank you. We'll have, I mean, obviously, pre-COVID, you have one set, then that kind of went out the window because of COVID, so we still can use the buckets, I think, and then we can follow the same process with the table that we did the last time.
There it
Would that
is.
be satisfactory to you guys?
We good with that?
It's worked right along, Mr. Chair, worked with the previous administrator.
I'm about to hear SMART goals, am I, Mr. Johnson?
I don't understand doing employee performance for anybody without, some kind of goals and measured performance, especially with the number of metrics and town administrator, the chiefs, department heads. I'm okay if we go one more year, kick the can one more year down the street, but at some point, I think it should be, and I'm not picking on town administrator, I think in general, reviews should be metric-based when possible.
How, just for our discussion's sake, since we're here, like, what kind of metrics would there be? I have experience with, like, sales metrics or general performance metrics, meaning amounts and
Mhm.
quality. How do we attach metrics to them?
If one of the goals happens to be reduction in waste. So what's waste? Anything the customer's not willing to pay for. What are people not willing to pay for? I don't know. Overtime, electrical expenses, heating expenses. If you had toxic waste coming out of the back of the building, you'd want a reduction in that if you could measure it. At the transfer station, probably should be measuring. There's always the wrong things getting into the waste stream. Those kind of companies measure that kind of stuff, and how do you have avoidance of it? Avoidance of issues. If there's frequent issues that a department would have, you'd want to, you have to know what the department or the leader is responsible for and measure against it. So usually those kind of measurements could be derived from a top level created by the leaders on what is important to the company, in this case, the town, and how people perform against those key issues. I don't know if there's quality measures in each department. Safety. Is there frequent safety programs? Is there, we had this many issues last year. We're going to measure ourselves against that this year. What have we put in place to solve those issues?
Okay.
I can go on for about 45 minutes. So I'm okay with one more year. It's a bad year with COVID to spend a lot of extra time unless we're gonna really be able to put that time into developing those plans. So I don't think we have that time with all the stuff going on this year. Not talking next 2-3 weeks with town meeting and stuff. So that's why when you guys said we'll just continue with the same process for another cycle, I'm okay with that. Just knowing that, it'll probably be 4-1. I think we should have a different system.
It's okay that we don't agree all the time, but the reason why I ask is because I think before we make a change, we should make a change before, meaning we don't want to say, like, for instance, today, this period of time prior, you're being judged on this now as
No, of
opposed
course
to this.
not.
I think we need to change it before that's why I brought it up
Absolutely.
now.
But then, will that happen?
Mr. Marcy.
So when I meant, like, let's stick with the process, I meant like how we do rating it. On his actual goals, 4 out of 5 of them, you can actually
That's stated.
look at that and say, because one of them is project-based. The one that, the kick the can part is the projects, right? Because because that's basically a project, it was COVID and all the stuff that went along with that. So, but all the other stuff, fiscal management and all this other stuff, we can actually, put some meat behind. But to Mr. Johnson's point, when we create new sets of goals, the next level down is what he's looking for. He's right. Like, how do you, objectives and key results, right? I mean, here's what we want. How are we going to measure it, and what are the tactics and initiatives we do to do that? Totally understand.
Yeah, and you only want to do that when they're
Yeah.
achievable and measurable,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
You don't want some weird abstract thing that has 4,000 variables to it. It
Nope.
doesn't work.
No,
It's
simple.
got to be simple stuff.
Simple.
Reduction in tin at the transfer station.
Yep, no, thank
Okay.
you. So we'll take these and Mr. Town Administrator, and
We'll put them in the, as Mr. Johnson suggested, at the end of, after the town meeting. It's
then when do we create new ones of these? Same,
in the July 1st range.
okay,
We should,
fair enough.
Maybe we'll only kick the can halfway this time, not the whole one.
Yeah. No,
Well,
but I mean,
Mr. Chair, that's only if you want to go in the direction that I prefer, right? That doesn't mean
Well,
any of that has to happen.
I think we should discuss it, and whatever happens, whatever the will of the board is, we'll have.
Okay.
well, no, it is the right way to go. It's just having the time to do it and the putting the rigor behind it, and not just for town administrator, but department level goals as well. We just don't do a good job at that. Writing stuff down.
Well, I think after town meeting, we should start doing a
Right.
good job at that. Anything else on this? If not, on to board member
Well,
comment?
no, one quick thing, like Mr. Johnson said, I thought, we have the merit pay, and the personnel board does all the non-union, and sometimes they'll come back and say, for example, someone took, on their own initiative, took a class on, just make it up, accounting, because I think that's great, but then one time I remember somebody came back and said, wasn't notary, there was something, but it was like, isn't that a function of the job? Yes, well, that shouldn't factor into your merit pay. So when you say we don't do a good job, I agree, inasmuch some of those things just have to be scrutinized a little more closely.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we have contract employees,
Yep,
the 3 big ones right here,
yep.
they should be getting performance-based metrics that are achievable, reasonable, but I'm not trying to look to reinvent the wheel either, but, I mean, to be fair, we have other contract employees that get reviewed directly by the Board of Selectmen because they're, by these positions they're in. So it's something, I'm leaning towards doing it like this because of COVID, but definitely leaning towards Mr. Johnson. So, I mean, there are written, as Mr. Marcy said, we do have written in here, because I signed it with Mr. Ruda back in 19. So we either got to tighten it up or really come down with a hard, fast set, and we have to follow, like you said, we have to follow it all the way through the organization. It's not fair to, as you said, you weren't singling them out, but it's not fair to, you want to give somebody a performance-based metric in his contract and not others.
Right, it's supposed to waterfall right down
At Cascade. Oh, we got time.
there.
Could be 3-2.
Continuous improvement.
Anything else? We're good?
Nope, thank you.
Board member comments, Mr. Sullivan, keep going.
No, pretty quiet. We've been meeting almost weekly, it seems like, so not much changes. I know the highway superintendent's gonna probably expound on it, but I see the guys out there, they're working. They filled in that hole in front of the Mason Road School, which kind of cropped up right around April vacation week. They took care of that, and just people just, as we say, it's still out there. Be kind and considerate to your neighbors. Check on the shut-ins. You got elderly. I mean, it looks like there's a small light at the end of the tunnel. Just want to keep moving forward and keep Dudley's numbers in a good place. And I thank everyone for all their efforts.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Johnson?
Just a couple things. Boy Scout yard sale, the Saturday Memorial Day weekend. I think it's usually like 9 to 2:30. And the second thing is our former student representative, Al Salonis, is going into the Coast Guard Reserve on May 18th. He's unfortunately going to miss town meeting. He wasn't going to enjoy himself that, but good luck, Al.
Thank you.
Okay, Al.
I just wanted to bring up Al is now a member of the fire department as well.
Okay.
I didn't know if you knew that.
Nope, did not.
Well, there's something for your departmental communication.
That's all I got to say, and I already said it, so I'm good.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Marcy?
I have nothing new tonight, Mr. Chairman.
I'm going to say it again, if you need a vaccine, webpage, red banner at the top, click on it, follow it, get a vaccine if you need it. Next up, departmental communications. Mr. Carmignani, you're right in front here.
Good evening. It's tax day. I always bring good news, like that Beetle Bailey character that's got the cloud over his head. Go to the website. You can make your payment online, get it to the Dropbox. By the way, the Unipay website, if you take a look at it, other than the photo, it's the same as Southbridge, Charlton, Webster, so we're in rare air. The company we use, I think they've got 85% of the market, so good product, safe product, passed our cybersecurity review. That website's still on. We're open. It was funny, at noontime, 30 people came storming in. Got to catch up on a whole bunch of people. Open enrollment for another week or two. Happy to sign for that letter advocating the passage of the PFAS. Glad to do it. At one point last week, the discussion of the rates for the water department that were set about a year ago, or the project was, the study was done a year ago. They did the rate change in September, August, September. I circulated that back. I found the document. You saw me thumbing through it. If somebody wants a copy of it, it's 40 pages. It will put you to sleep, but there's a couple of very important little things in there. If you need a copy, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. George, what do you have? Anything else? No more bite at the apple. Mr. Murray?
So just a couple of things recently. The employees at the highway department, all those that hadn't had the OSHA 10 training had taken that here at the town hall over the course of a couple of days, so they'll all be certified with their OSHA 10 training. There's some other safety courses that they'll be taking along the way. They're actually out doing patching, repairing. All of the street sweeping's been completed, and we're putting in some berm in preparation for some paving projects that are going to happen. Amarillo Incorporated, who's was the successful bidder for this year's paving project, is going to be starting possibly tomorrow, weather dependent, over on Lower Perryville Road, that'll be paved for the entire length. So I haven't posted that just because, the weather predicted overnight doesn't look too cherry, so it's a hit or miss and with the weather for the rest of the week. So moving from there, Lower Perryville Road, then Eagle Drive and Rocky Road, as well as New Boston Road will be within the next couple of weeks, and I'll be posting those on the website so that residents are aware of the interruptions.
On New Boston, Eagle, and Rocky Road, the entire roads are being paved?
New Boston was, there was a previous project so the paving will begin at the intersection of Eagle Drive.
Okay,
Continue from there to the Connecticut line.
okay.
And then Rocky Road and Eagle Drive will be, Eagle Drive will be done in its entirety, and then, Rocky Road will be done in its entirety, and then Eagle Drive, approximately 24, 25, about a half a mile of that street will be paved.
Okay.
Mr. Murray, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
is that up to the stop sign on Eagle Drive? Because the rest is all private, right? Like there's a four-way intersection?
Yes,
So we won't go beyond that. So the people up there got to understand.
Correct.
They're going to see your guys out there paving, they're going to be like, yes, but
yeah, correct.
private, they can't, that in Fairview.
Yeah, the private,
The old section of Eagle Drive.
yeah, correct.
And then one more quick question to the administrator. We talked about this with you and I before. Any funds that weren't expended last year for Chapter 90 we're allowed to carry over this year?
Yes.
So we
Yeah.
probably a little bit more.
That's correct. So these are projects that were previously planned for
Right.
last year, and then the furlough happened, and none of
Right.
that worked. So, but the majority of that will be money that's expended from last year's Chapter 90 funds.
Okay, just want to make people know that too, that we were able to carry it over, so maybe a little more ambitious than usual.
Yep, good call.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dean, you said you're good. Chief, do you have more?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple things. We had that shooting incident last week. I have nothing really further to update at this point. Jim Anise is kind of leading that for us now. We've done some search warrants and some different things that are going with it. So still moving along, but just kudos to my two guys, Louis Pacheco and Mariano Conti, and also the fire chief's two guys from the EMTs. They did a heck of a job. A person was shot in the chest, and they did some quick work and saved the guy's life. So I'm sure we'll be bringing something up for that a future meeting. But it's some excellent work with that to avoid a fatality in that situation. But again, we don't believe there's anything for the neighbors to fear as far as any type of random act situation. We're looking at it as more of something was probably known at this point, so can't really share too much more information on that at this time, but that's kind of where we're at. But thank you again to anybody from the public, and if anybody has any information, we'll gladly take whatever's out there, and hopefully we can get that resolved fairly quick. Last thing too is, again, in regards to that, since the media was down, we finally took delivery of we got a background banner that has, going to be a combo banner for two-sided, so it has our badge and name on one side, and it just has Town of Dudley with the town seal on the other side. So we'll keep that downstairs in our training room. So at any time, if there's any type of media or anything else like that, if it's needed, that can be moved around pretty quickly anywhere in the town hall, so that you can have a nice background for the cameras. It's been quite a while. We've always tried to scramble around to find a decent background around the building. So this helps to kind of professionalize it, make it look a lot better. So again, it's two-sided one, so it just has our department on one side and the town logo and town seal on the other side, so any other department could really use it at that point. Similar to what the fire chief has down at his place. But that's about all I have right now, unless there's any questions.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, thank you.
Next up, student rep.
All right. Can you circle back to me after, Mr. Chairman?
I could.
Okay. Good evening. I'm happy to report that students are in the building for full in-person learning now. The transition went very smoothly, and this model of learning has been very successful so far. Students are now seeing all of their classes in person every day, and students are eating lunch at school while remaining at a safe distance. AP exams began today and will run through May 17th. College Decision Day was last Saturday, which all seniors who plan on attending college next year have picked their schools. To celebrate, students were encouraged to wear their college apparel today. The National Honor Society recently held their induction on April 14th. 34 students were inducted into the National Honor Society. The spring sports season began last week at Shepherd Hill. Track, baseball, softball, lacrosse, tennis, cheer, and wrestling have begun their seasons. The show choir will be performing at their first and only in-person competition this Saturday. And I am happy to announce that the senior prom is back on at Shepherd Hill and will be held at Polar Park on May 27th. The senior class also has a variety of events planned for the end of the year, including a senior banquet, a concert, the senior barbecue, a pep rally, an awards ceremony, and much more. Graduation will take place on June 6th. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Thank you, sir.
Great job. Thank you.
Now we know how Fuller Park's paying for that overrun.
Where's he going to school?
UMass Amherst.
UMass
Where are you going?
Amherst. UMass Amherst.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
What's your major?
Political science.
My son Kevin took it.
Yeah, at UMass, yeah.
Always high.
So all we've got next on the agenda is the adjourn, oh no, Mr.
Just,
Ruda.
I just want to float the date of May 25th for candidates night.
Okay,
And we'll work up I tried to book our town moderator for that date, and there was an alternate date potentially, but it looks like May 25th is going to be the day.
Not the first week of June. Is a town meeting the day before?
Day before.
What if it goes 2 days, just saying?
I know.
simultaneous.
Then we'd have to rush to reschedule.
He's going to be the moderator?
That's kind of why we're limited on dates.
Okay.
We should do it at the town meeting, have a good turnout.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's all you had? Or you-
That's all I had. I'll work on a similar format that we've used in years past and put out a draft to everybody, and Michelle will work on contacting all the candidates.
And I know someone asked me if we were going to do questions from Twitter like we had in the past.
I think we'll probably have a similar format.
Good. Good. We're all good? Next up is adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, buddy. Aye.